And we're live. Sorry for the late start, everybody. But when you have kids, like I told Sal offline, I said when you got kids, you got to check on them, and that's what happens. So,
Yeah.
welcome to the Right Rican Show. Just giving people a chance to sign on, and so like that, I'll let Sal introduce himself, and from there, we'll go. Who are you, Sal? What do you do? And you know,
Well, I'm a 14-year veteran of the NYPD. I'm a highly decorated officer, as you can see in the back. Unfortunately, I was terminated, and we're currently in litigation over it because I was a Trump supporter and I'm a friend of Roger Stone's. That irked people in the police department. They put me through a 19-month witch hunt. I had to go through an administrative trial. They ultimately found they said I was guilty of associating with Roger Stone. They called him a criminal. Then I ended up suing the NYPD. We're in litigation now. And I've been into, law enforcement, politics, crime and politics. I have my own show. I comment on that kind of stuff. Sal Greco show at the Sal Greco show on YouTube and Rumble. And I'm also here on X at the Sal Greco. Same thing on Instagram and on True Social at Head of the Table. And I do discuss, political things. I also discuss law enforcement, such as the NYPD. I tend to expose people. I don't like corruption, as you know, Carlos. Corrupt people seem to be running New York City right now.
Oh.
And I've highlighted a lot of hypocrisy and corruption, starting with the nightclub that just shuttered that belonged to the police commissioner, the NYPD's brother, Richard Caban, Con Sofrito up in the Bronx, where it's just the hall of felons. What else could I say? It's like every high-end cop was hanging out with a felon. And they're pictured there. The manager, co-owner, he's a self-admitted criminal and a mob associate. This guy, Jimmy Rodriguez, that I don't know what the hell a cop would be doing, even be pictured with the guy. But they were all hanging out there. But yeah, no one was ever fired, investigated. But I'm a bad guy. So this is the kind of stuff that I would.
I said Congo Sofrito. That was the one that used to be Jimmy's Bronx Cafe, right?
Yes, that is Jimmy. So that guy, Jimmy, is the creator manager of this place, but the owner on paper is the retired NYPD lieutenant brother of the police commissioner now, Ed Caban. It's funny because, yeah, you're right. They're all Puerto Rican. And you're wondering, geez, what the hell's going on? I mean, Fat Joe is always there, another felon. Peter Guns is always there, another felon. This rapper guy, Eric B. These guys. Now, if you want to hang out and do, that's fine. What the hell's the police department doing there? What the hell's the state attorney general doing there? What the hell's the state assembly leader doing there? What the hell's the mayor of New York City doing there? I'm not talking about one time, Carlos. It's like it's all over social media. It was every night, every other night. This one had a fundraiser. This one had a birthday party. And then, Carlos, there's allegations all over the place. There was drug allegation, prostitution allegations, which are on a lawsuit, a federal lawsuit filed by a former officer, Jermac Romero. You can look it up. Romero versus the state of New York, or the city of New York, and the NYPD. He makes these allegations on a lawsuit, drugs and prostitution coming out of Consafrito. And then they also had other litigation with the landlord. They had litigation with the state. They weren't paying people their benefits. They weren't paying their employees. I mean, this is like the worst of the worst that you could think of. And it just so happens that the police department's there smiling, taking pictures like there's no problems. Plus, they operated illegally. They had an illegal party shed. So they had a shed in the back for 4 years. The building department deemed it a public safety hazard. They still kept their liquor license. Fire department comes, gives them 20 violations, says it's a fire trap. That's it. You never hear anything again. So they were operating illegally the whole time. And this is stuff you don't really see. I mean, I can understand what you're going to say, Carl. It's the Bronx. But at the same time, in the Bronx, the average guy or a bodega or any of these places that gets one violation, they're going to keep visiting them. Like Mr. Anthony Miranda, the sheriff, the guy that looks like Lurch. He walks around. He was a former sergeant in the NYPD, a real piece of work, another friend of Eric Adams. So he's standing there. So they violate court order. The court order stated that they could not have the party shed. They said, that's it. No more. You can't use anything. So they demolished the shed. And then outside, they put other stuff. They put down tables. And now in the parking lot, They turned it into an extension of the restaurant instead of the shed. And then they had an open air alcohol party, which is illegal. And the police department smiling, they're standing, and here's Anthony Miranda next to Jimmy Rodriguez, who, if you look on my X feed, you'll see what just came out about Mr. Miranda, the sheriff, who, by the way, they're appointed in New York City. They're not elected. I know people think that you're thinking about an elected sheriff. No, they're appointed, and they're a revenue agency. They garner revenue. That's all they do for the city. They don't have any enforcement, no enforcement powers. They can't just pull you over, you know. So this guy was standing there when this party was going on. So then what happened is the judge told them, that's it, you're evicted right after that. So this is what's going on. It's like a little microcosm of New York City, but I get terminated saying that I should have never hung around Roger Stone, even though they found no criminal act, nothing. Other than me being his friend and a Trump supporter, who Donald Trump himself, President Trump in my trial, was mentioned numerous times. They had a problem with this, but they have no problem associating with that mob associate over there and all the felons and the criminals that hang out in it. I'm only naming a few. Take a look at yourself. Go look back on the pictures and videos. You'll see what I'm talking about.
No, of course. I mean, I grew up in New York City. I know, I know how the corruption works, and who you have to. It's funny because when Trump ran for president, they got mad at him because what was some of the things he said? Oh, I paid for you guys. I bought you guys. I know how the system. I know how the system works. I know who I have to pay to get stuff done.
Yep.
And that's the way New York is. So I found it funny that
it's always been like
that they're always talking about how Trump's a criminal, and now they finally, after all these years, how many years did it take, and how much finagling they had to do to finally charge him with something. They had to extend it. They had to extend the statute of limitations on a crime, and then say it was a felony because he was hiding another crime, but they didn't say what the other crime is.
Yeah.
And then they found him guilty on that, and it's like, wait a minute. So, you have all this corruption going on in New York, but you're gonna go after this guy, and that's that's what people don't get about what's going on in New York, and like New York, California, these are microcosms of what's going on around the country.
Yeah,
when it comes to Democrat cities,
but just if the cities are mismanaged, because we're both libertarians here, right? And we lean conservative, but I do speak to some Democrats who they're not like a liberal, they're a moderate. They might have some liberal policies they like, but they also they have conservative policies in them. But they'll tell you themselves that they don't like. I mean, Eric Adams is not well liked. He's the mayor of New York City. This guy's a mess. He's under a federal investigation. He talks out of both sides of his mouth. I could tell you he clearly got a target letter from the FBI. He's been subpoenaed for the grand jury. They're not looking for his devices because they already had taken them a year ago when they stopped him in the street and took all his stuff and gave it back to him. They took all your data, all the text messages. They don't need anything else. He's going to have to testify, and there's subpoenas all over the place. All I can tell you is it's high-ranking people all around them, people that work for him, people that are in his administration, people I understand they're in the police department, and we really don't know what this is about. It's, yes, the Turkish embassy. There was stuff with Turkey, but there's a lot more here. They don't just hand you subpoena for something like that. They're never going to tell you until the moment comes. That's how it works.
Especially, I mean, you're talking about, and it's a DOJ that's run by Democrats.
Yes. Well, the Southern District of New York, I'll tell you this thing, that the head of it right now is just a guy by the name of Damian Williams. He's a baby face. First of all, he's African-American. So I don't want to hear Eric Adams say they're picking on me because it's race. Then you see him, and he's like a baby face killer. He's a nice, like a quiet guy. He's got this smooth baby face, and he's already gotten Bob Menendez guilty. He's got a couple other cases he found, a couple other guilty convictions. And now he's looking at Eric Adams. He's a guy that when you're in his sights, he's got to get you. He's going to convict you. And he's a public corruption specialist, which is what these guys are supposed to do. So he's a guy that in a Democrat administration seems to be doing his job, and he's actually going after Democrats. It's not Republicans. He got rid of the big donor. Remember, what's his name? Sam Bankman-Fried. He charged him.
Yeah.
Then he tried to wiggle his way out, the DOJ, and then he charged him with the right charges that got him convicted. So he's a very smart guy.
Didn't they win on appeal? I thought they won on appeal.
No, he won. He switched. He flipped the original charges, and then he got him convicted on separate charges. Because all they did was what they did is you throw the book at somebody, and then you might be able to get some charges thrown, but he wasn't able to get rid of all the charges. So Sam Bankman-Fried was found guilty of everything that Damian Williams brought forward afterwards. So he's a kind of guy that, listen, he knows the game very well, and I'm telling you, he's like a babyface killer. And the more notches he has under his belt, the bigger his profile is, whether he sticks around in the Southern District or he sticks around with the DOJ or goes into private practice. He's going to become a big-time attorney, no matter how you look at it. But again, these guys, all public officials, Sam Bankman-Fried wasn't, but he was involved with them, and they're all corrupt people.
Oh, yeah, no, he the crypto guy, right? That's the thing. That's what it was.
A big crypto guy.
He was a crypto guy.
And he knows Eric Adams Wells, too. That's the other thing. These guys seem to all know each other somehow.
Birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
But all right, I'm gonna pivot to this story that we were talking before we went live. Talk about this story because I found this really interesting. I could talk New York politics all day, even though I don't live there no more.
I know. I mean, I'm exposing these guys. That's the thing, I get a lot of information coming my way.
No, that's good. You got to do it. People, the mainstream media is not going to do it.
Oh no. They wouldn't write the right. They never write the right thing. They always write half truths, or they're trying to. I think they're afraid of being sued. That's what it is. They think everything's a lawsuit. They're afraid.
No, I don't. You know what? I think you give them too much credit. I think it's that it's kind of like with the mainstream media is just the fact that they have their bias, and they let their bias influence what they're going to report. Oh, like right now. Oh, well, we can't report that news on Kamala Harris because it might get people to vote for Trump if we tell the truth about how, her plan is basically right out of Venezuela and Cuba.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It's sick, their plans. Those policies are crazy, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to there. But here, one of the big stories of today is that RFK reportedly expected to bow out and may endorse Trump. Now, the big news about this is they're talking about if he'll endorse Trump if he gives him some high position. And I'm gonna show you this clip because here's Kennedy's going to address the nation on Friday. I want to play this short clip. I already saw it, but I want to play it for you and get your take on this.
John, you said pedal to the metal. There's been some pretty remarkable news over the last 24 hours about RFK Jr. saying, Trump's the way, and we may drop out and join the Trump campaign, join forces. Can you please comment on that?
Yeah, listen, I'd love to see it. I know RFK, I know some of that team. Don't agree with everything, but I think he'd actually be a great person to put on certain agencies and just let him do it now. Let him blow stuff up. Let him fix the stuff. I mean, he's incredibly well on a lot of things, and understandably, like me and like my company, probably has a gripe with some of the government, and could actually, that's a solid motivation to actually get things done. But it also shows some unity that I'd love to see. On these tickets, guys that they agree on everything, saying that we understand the common goal is to prevent communism, socialism from taking over our country. And they're going to make sure we take your kids away if you don't let them go through transgender surgery or that parental consent. It's like these people are lunatics. And so if you see, that kind of, coming together to fight a common enemy, which is, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest threat to democracy. I think RFK probably agrees. I think you said that. And then it was about Biden, but there is no light between Biden and Harris. To their own press secretary, Marie Jean-Pierre, who said there's no light between the policies. So the policies have failed. They're taking us down a bad path. So I think it would be an incredible thing. I'd love to see it.
So I just just on a closing note here, RFK Jr. for CIA director. Come on. We got Mike Walls right here. He's on the television committee.
I thought that was hilarious at the end there, because imagine that. Imagine him as CIA, the director, and he gets to, declassify the records of what they did to his uncle and his father.
And his father, yeah. I wouldn't have a problem with that. The only thing is, I think he really wants to be the head of the Health Human Services.
I still think he'd be better at that anyway.
Yeah,
I just thought that was funny, CIA director, but no, I think HHS would be much, much better.
Yeah, and I think he's a lawyer by trade, but I think he's not he's not a lawyer like a legal. I don't think he handled criminal cases. I don't think that.
No, he did environmental law.
Exactly. That's why I think he's better suited in the other position. But I would welcome him with open arms in a Trump administration, because here's a guy who's an independent. He's not a Republican. He's not a Democrat, but he means well. I know sometimes he says crazy things. Sometimes Trump says crazy things. So it's, they kind of have the same kind of personality. And I do think that RFK would be, that might sway some independents and some other voters to say, hey, that guy would be excellent in that administration. You know why? Because I could see him being front and center and talking about those issues that back in the day, I know people had a lot of problems with the vaccine and all this other stuff. And here comes RFK, could be the head of all of that. And then he'll just tell everybody what really happened.
I have a vaccine injured son, so I know.
See, exactly. So see, he takes over, and he's going to release all these people who are running for the Hill. Because remember, they could also recommend charges. Mm-hmm. And then when you control the DOJ, you're not going to see this, partisan. We're only going to go after people we believe were on the lawn at a certain location at a certain day a few years ago. We're going to actually start investigating real crimes. So I'm telling you, if he wants to be, I think it's a nice little old day to him for the CIA director, but HHS director is better.
No, I thought that was funny, but reality, that's where I'd want him. Like I said, as a parent of a vaccine injured child, I would definitely love to see him clean that stuff up.
I believe he's injured. He had a vaccine injury himself, because his voice, I believe it happened off an injury. His voice changed.
I don't think it was a vaccine injury. I think it's because he had a couple of different weird things. I forgot because he had brain worms at one point. He said,
"Yeah, he definitely had surgery because his voice
he had some parasite." But I forgot what it was. But it wasn't a vaccine though. That I would have remembered that.
I'll tell you one thing. He's a very smart guy though. He's very smart.
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you, I'm all for. I hope that they do cut that deal, because Kamala will not welcome him anyway.
Well, this is the crazy thing, and you know what? I laugh about this. I did a video about this, and I go, "What's more radical, or what's more extreme, a New York Republican or a San Francisco Democrat?" And it's like, let's be realistic. It's like, look at some people. Tulsi Gabbard, who ran for Democratic presidential nomination, is endorsing Trump now. Kennedy comes and endorses Trump now. It's like, how are they going to keep getting away with painting MAGA or Republicans as extremists when you have and label Trump far right, when you have all these different people supporting him?
Well, listen, like they like to say far right, but you have to understand far right. Anybody can support anyone. Mm-hmm. It just so happens that this group that people call radicals will say far right, they tend to trend in Trump's direction. They also tend to, they might not like Trump. A lot of them are, like I said, they're radicals. But anyone's allowed to support anybody in this country. It's not like, the guy's right away, he's a far right, then a MAGA, and it's a cult. And I could almost see everything that people say. You want to call it a cult, You want to say it's a following. I could understand when they say that stuff. But then I look at, okay, well, when you point a finger there, I'm going to look at you. And what are you doing? So those people right now, they're in Chicago outside screaming about Palestine. Mind you, I believe 80 to 90% of them do not have one Arabic descendancy in their body.
Ask them what river to the sea means. They don't know what river and they don't know what sea.
No, because they're not Arabic. They're misguided, predominantly Caucasian children, we'll call them. They're under 20, 21, kind of like Woodstock. They don't know where they are. Hey, we're just happy we're here.
Well, the problem is that they're college educated. And, as someone who went to college too, lucky I didn't get brainwashed, they teach you this stuff. They teach you, this, because Israel is stronger than, Palestine. So they're the oppressors and the Palestinians are the oppressed, but they forget about the rest of the Middle East. Is all Arabs, and none of the Arab states want to take these Palestinians in.
No, because they're radicals.
Because they come in, they go in, and that's the whole thing. Like Egypt closed the border, Jordan closed the border because the Palestinians that come to Jordan mess shit up, and nobody talks about that.
And now what we're saying, we mentioned the groups, right? So I said this group of people that are, destroying Chicago right now, I would say these people belonged to that party, and now they're rebelling against them because, when you create a monster, it could rebel against you. Frankenstein would come to mind. So your Frankenstein is now rebelling against you. And they're like, what is this?
Well, that's what happens when you run an identity politics. It's going to come back to bite you in the ass. This is why I always tell people, I go, you shouldn't, you're asking for, and I understand as a Latino and blacks where they'll ask for, what are you going to do for us? But the problem with that is, no, you're saying you're going to do for one group, then the problem with doing that is you're going to alienate everybody else.
Yes.
Where you want someone who's going to make a policy that's going to be good for all Americans.
Everyone.
Not just Latinos, not just blacks, not just Italians, for everybody.
It's got to be for everybody. Otherwise, it's not equal. That's what the whole country was built on. Everybody it's one nation under God, indivisible. It's because it's supposed to be one rule, one law. Everybody has a chance. It's not, there's a chance for just those three people over there, not the three people to the left. But we were just stating how the radicalness, right? So these people, when you just mentioned Palestine, how nobody wants them. And if you really break it down, not even the people that identify as Palestinians or the people in the Gaza Strip, once again, they have their own group of radicals. That is the Hamas section of these people. And these are people that they just don't care. They'll kill their own. They don't care. They will go into Gaza and kill their own people because that's their ideology.
Well, they use them as human shields. They put their bombs in hospitals and schools, and then when Israel bombs them, oh my God, you bombed the school. Why did you have weapons? Why did you have missiles in the school?
And people don't want to say that, but your problem with the Palestinians is not them; it's that group. There's a small percentage of them, but like one rotten apple, could it spoil a tree? It depends. People say that there's always a rotten apple in every tree. You're right, but is that one rotten apple, can it spoil the whole tree? And this is the same thing with Hamas inside of Palestine. So that radical group that's in Palestine is what's ruining everything. And they're crazy. They will shoot, they'll kill. They don't care about life. So how do you decipher who from who? Because these people are living in fear. They're afraid of being a snitch. But at the same time, these people are animals. I mean, look, they'll rape a man, they'll rape a woman, they'll kill you. They don't care. You understand? They have no moral values.
You also got to understand it's part of their religion. That's the whole thing. What people, most people don't understand because they don't realize that one of the how would I say it? One of their beliefs is that in order for the end times to come, they have to kill all the Jews. So their end time can't come until all the Jews are killed.
Yeah, they have. What it is the way it was explained to me by one of my friends. The actual Muslim religion versus I think it's a Shiite and a Sunni. There's two different versions. These guys, this pack of people, Hamas, take that, I guess, whatever, Sunni, the Sunni version.
The Sunni and Shiite, and yeah, I mean, you have other the Sufism and
this is what they start to do. They start to blur the lines. So they take this version and then apply the rules and start making their own in between. And here you go. Voila. That's what we believe in. That's Hamas. So that whole throwing people off the rooftop, that's technically not in the religion, but it's in their version of whatever the hell it is they're trying to push. So that's these people, this Hamas, Hezbollah, this little group of radicals it's actually a larger group than you think together. That's what they believe in. They do that. They're crazy. You understand? They don't believe in anything. So that's what you're fighting. It's a radicalization. Not much.
The problem is, like when I usually have these conversations, what I usually tell people is the problem is, people talk about, oh, well, Christianity had its violent past, and it's like, yeah, but we had a Reformation.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Islam was never allowed to have a Reformation. They've been fighting, basically, for as long as their religion has existed. They fought the battle of Sunni Shiite, because I don't know if you know the simplistic the separation is, one believes that was it? I forget which one is which, but one believes that the cousin of Muhammad is the successor, and the other one was like his friend.
Yep, I read that. Which is, see what I mean? What they believe and what was written is two different things, but they blur the lines like everything else. I go back to another culture. The infamous Nazis there in Germany. They had their own belief system. It wasn't Christianity. It was some crazy religion where they put this ring with a skull, and it had to be burnt in fire. They had this castle that's in the middle of nowhere that was like outside of the town, and you could still visit it, and you could see where they would do this. So they believed in their own crazy religion that never existed. That everything you heard them say, none of it was true, because none of it ever existed. That blonde hair, blue eyes, where was this written? No, it was never written anywhere. So that's what I'm saying. These guys take something and then make it their own, whatever. This is their philosophy, aka religion, and they're going to run with it. And that's the problem we're seeing, because the regular, we'll call them Palestinian, but the Arabs that live in Gaza, who are not far from Israel, vice versa, they go and visit each other. But this group, which again, how do you decipher the Hamas guy and the Palestinian? Because they're living over there, and they're using these people as shields and their little base of operations with the schools and the hospital. That's your problem. So people need to see that. So when you hear them screaming in the street, which some rich, entitled Caucasian family, their child that's screaming this stuff and has no idea what they're talking about, they need a better understanding of what we're saying right now. They just have a cause they see and they want to jump on it.
Yeah, no, because that once again, like I said, they have that, anti-Western mentality of, if you don't have power, you're oppressed. So the whole oppressed narrative that they've learned in college, that's where they learn it in university, and it's sad. It's what they call, the Soviets used to call useful idiots.
Yeah. Yep. And I listen. I agree with everyone's right to protest peacefully, but I cannot wrap my brain around this, because whenever I look at it, I go right back in a circle. I see a lot of people that are just lost souls, and they're just doing this.
The funniest ones are the ones like gays for Palestine and queers for Palestine.
Oh,
where
yeah.
I just go, I'm like,
yeah,
you really don't know what I'm like, try doing that over there and see what happens.
Yeah.
It won't be
doing
pretty.
that over there.
It won't be pretty.
If they have a problem with this, then why don't you take a flight over there and see how that works out for you? What are you doing that in here? You're not changing anything in America. That's not going to change what's going on thousands of miles away, which is the core issue is what's going on over there. And guess what? They don't really want America involved in that either. You don't hear Israel. All they're saying is, let us handle this.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to get involved. You can't. Oh, they want to make it a political issue when really let those two nations, or I mean, if Palestine's even considered one, let them talk amongst themselves. I think they know it better than us. I mean, they've been around a lot longer than America or anything else.
Look at it. Trump's policies were working in the Middle East.
Yep.
You know, the Abraham Accords were helping force the cooperation between Israel and like Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, and you know, given that chance, it would have. You know, if Trump is president right now, that conflict is probably not happening right now.
I have this conversation with a friend of mine all the time, and I said, I'm going to go back in those 4 years. Did you hear about any of this stuff? Oh, but this little thing I'm saying, he said some journalist had his head cut off or something back in Saudi Arabia. I go, was Israel fighting Gaza, those people in Gaza? No. Was there any conflict with Ukraine and Russia? No. Well, Venezuela, you heard a lot, but nobody was making a move.
No.
Right? You didn't see Venezuela, you know.
He went to Korea with Kim Jong-il.
Yeah, and they said, oh, well, he shook hands with a dictator. You know something? Shaking hands with that guy and trying to make nice showed the world that, you know something? Maybe there could be a solution where we could just all try to get some kind of civil discourse here. And they stopped doing anything, right? They weren't doing anything because he wasn't trying to do Kim Jong-un wasn't doing anything. And the minute he left, here we go. It's right back to the same old nonsense. Yeah. They assassinated the former president of South Korea. You see China right away wants to attack was that the
Taiwan.
So Taiwan, they want to attack Taiwan. Ukraine, Russia went in there. They went right for Ukraine again. Now you have this conflict starting up again. Now you have the people marching in the street. First it was Black Lives Matter. Then it was Occupy Wall Street. Now it's Free Palestine. It has nothing to do with this country. So it's, you know, it's the leadership here is the problem because the president of the United States has a lot to say. He or she will say she, whenever that would be, would hold the big stick, right? So what are they doing to try to quell this? Joe Biden's what? He's partying in California or he's sleeping right now in California. That's your problem. And Kamala Harris, whose policies would probably destroy this country, what is she doing other than cackling and smiling? She wasn't even at her own convention last night.
Well, who was it? Dan Bongino had a interesting take about that. He said the reason that she wasn't there was because she didn't want to piss off Biden because the Obamas were speaking. Because basically, as much as they pretend on TV that they like each other, Biden and Obama can't stand each other.
Nope. I'm telling you that this whole thing, everybody doesn't get along behind the scenes. They don't like each other. It's a bunch of fugazis. Look, I mean, Eric Adams is going there. I don't know what the hell he thought he was going to speak. I don't know what planet he's on. And he's definitely in the world of Adams. He's in a different world where crime is down, jobs are up. The city's not surviving, it's thriving. They're just taking killings, rapings down the street from Gracie Mansion. Central Park is out of control. You have bodies showing up left and right, just popping up on a city street. Yeah, crime is down. It's doing great. It's the perception. The perception.
Yeah, the perception. You know, my parents live in the Lower East Side. You know how many times I hear shootings going on in the Lower East Side? Almost, almost as bad as when I grew up there in the 80s.
That's because, the city's not surviving. It's thriving. You didn't know that? Every day he has a new saying. All his haters become waiters at his table of success. You didn't know that?
And then he changed the garbage cans and made everyone pay for them.
For $5 million, that was. Oh, no, $4 million. A $4 million survey for a year from Harvard University to find out the most simplest thing that an idiot could have told them. Yeah, just send the garbage bins so that the building has to buy one. Since where the garbage go? In a bin, right? That's where it belongs. But so the building could buy the bins. So, but he had it where now they have to buy it from a certain company.
Yeah.
You see, but he didn't know this until he spent $4 million of the city's money in their budget for a survey from Harvard University. So these are the things this guy does. It's really irritating. But the New York City taxpayer, look, you need to do as much research as humanly possible to make an informative decision on who you're going to vote for. If it was me, I lived in New York City, say what you want, I'd vote for Curtis Lewa. Not because I know him, not because he's on my side. The guy knows every issue in New York City right now. Ask him and he knows about it. And he has a solution. Eric,
I have
with no plan.
I have a Silva story because, like I said, I grew up in the Lower East Side in the 80s. So I remember him with the red beret and everything growing up.
Yeah.
And I had told my mother, I said, who you voting for? And she goes, I don't know. And I said, don't you remember that Guardian Angels guy that, from back in the day? And she goes, yeah, I remember. And then she goes, oh, he's running? Okay, I'm going to go vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
She comes back later. I go, oh, so you voted? Did you get to vote for Silva? She goes, no, I voted Adams.
Oh, God.
What the hell? She goes, Silva's a Republican. I said, so what? I said, so what? You voted for Giuliani?
It's infuriating. It's infuriating. It really is. I think that in New York City, they should get away with what party you belong to, and on a ballot, just put a name.
Yeah.
Because I think that would eliminate a lot of people because you're brainwashed in New York City that Republicans are scum. It's just in you. It's out there. Everybody.
New York. It's not just New York City. It's all across the country.
So
it's like in every Democrat city, it's like Republicans are shit.
If I look on a ballot and say Curtis Lee was running for mayor, no party, and Eric Adams is running with no party, who are you going to vote for? No party. It just says a name. I think that's the way New York City should operate, and other cities might have to adapt that.
I think most places should run like that because I think the biggest problem is you have these low information voters that don't know what's going on, and then they vote.
That's the Eric Adams crowd. Eric Adams caters especially to low information voters.
Yeah, well, that's what scares me. Like right now with the coming presidential election, is like people don't underestimate how stupid people are in this country when it comes to.
You were showing Kamala Harris, right? So Kamala Harris's policy. This is basically what I get out of her. Vote for me. I'm black. January 6th. Let's not forget that.
I started being black a couple of years ago.
Yeah. It was the worst. January 6th is the worst day. It's worse than Pearl Harbor. You have to exfoliate any Republican and Trump for that reason. Trump is a bad guy. And by the way, I'm going to raise the corporate tax to 28% so that every company runs away from this country and we are finished economically. We'll have no businesses here.
Everybody's going to move their companies overseas.
But Trump, Trump changed that, but now he's been gone. So this woman wants to raise she'll destroy this country. It was at 30. Remember when the Trump was 35%? He changed it to 21.
Yeah, and then they're talking about passing a law on a tax on unrealized gains, where most people they're like, "What the hell is that? What's unrealized gain?" Well, let's say let's just keep it simple. Let's say you have a house, you own your house. Your house costs, you paid $500,000 for the house. In 5 years, now the house, because of inflation, the house is worth $1 million. Guess what? You have $500,000 in unrealized gains. They're going to tax you. They want to tax you on that $500,000. How are you going to pay taxes on $500,000 you don't have?
Yeah.
They want to make it seem like it's just for the millionaires and the billionaires, but that's how the income tax started in the first place.
No, but when they say we don't like the millionaires, the 1%, but they are the 1%. That's the problem. Kamala Harris is worth millions. Bernie Sanders is worth millions. Shame on Vermont. You keep voting for that guy. You should all, I don't know, maybe spend a week in a mental asylum, check yourselves out. that guy is laughing at you. He's worth millions. I think people really sometimes are just like they don't have a brain. They're mindless, kind of like the people that are screaming free Palestine. They're just mindless souls. Those people in Vermont maybe were mindless their whole life. They've been a lost soul their whole life. How do you vote for that man who's, I don't know what he's done for Vermont, but he's clearly a very rich man screaming about rich people? Then I want him to arrest himself, even though he's 80 years old, because he's a thief. He's had all these houses. He's had his campaign finance disclosures. There's all kinds of questionable tactics on there. So he should investigate himself, arrest himself, and throw himself out of office if you use his logic. The 1% is Bernie Sanders. It is Barack Obama. It is Kamala Harris. They live like very rich people. Michelle Obama makes millions of dollars just to show up to an event, which is why she won't ever run for president. She won't give up the money, but she'll be quick to try to play black people, this one, that one. She's catering to the, once again, low information people. That's what they cater to. They love those people. Vote for me. I'm black. Vote for me because Fat Joe Felon said so. Yo, 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 keep it real, or whatever the hell his song is. And then we all sing his damn song and you vote for the guy. Meanwhile, again, they're rich, laughing at you, and they're going to crush you. That's the club. You're not in it. But nobody, wake up. Low information. That's what they go for. The ones that love
I'm trying to
hang
pull
out
up
at the nightclub all night. That's the kind of crowd you want.
I think it was the Daily Wire. I'm trying to pull it up. Since you talked about Michelle Obama, there was a little short reel, like maybe like 30 seconds. If I could pull it up I saw it on Instagram, so I'm trying to bring up Instagram right now. But
yeah, I saw that too. I think I put it up myself, or it was on my story. What she was saying, like she sounds.
But she
crazy.
was talking about her father. Her father said, "What was it?" She said her father said that don't trust people who take more than they need.
Yeah, well, shit.
And she said that, and then they were like, they flashed to, their $12 million house in Martha's Vineyard, their $8 million house in DC, their $8 million house in Hawaii, and then they showed like her shoes were $2,000, her dress was $3,000, and it's like, really, don't trust people who take too much.
Yeah, if you don't look at Michelle Obama's history, she didn't grow up poor. She was like middle class and upwards. She dressed very fancy when she went to school, and I think her father was even a lawyer. They were, they're very smart people. You look at her history, and she started changing the way she dressed in order to fit the narrative or whatever she was going to start to cater to. Again, target the low information people. Start dressing like them. Start trying to, channel with them. That's the equivalent of Trump saying, okay, he's not going to wear a suit. He's going to put a Fat Joe shirt on and start rapping lyrics and saying how great, let's say, I'm the swagger president. And next thing you know, he's so hip. He's so, you got these people like that. I love wrestling. I'll equate something to wrestling. The fans love Cody Rhodes, right? Or they're cheering for him. He's a great guy. He's a great wrestler, great guy on camera, great guy on the mic. He reminds me of the Ultimate Warrior. He's the champion right now, and I guarantee you they're going to show you the statistics. The money man is Roman Reigns. He gets the bigger reaction. People flock to him. His shirts sales are number one. He's the Hulk Hogan of this time. Whether the people like the Hulk Hogan or not, he's the biggest grossing gain in the history of wrestling.
That's when I actually used to watch wrestling. I was going to ask that Rhodes guy, is he related to the old
Dusty
wrestler?
Rhodes' son. He's Dusty Rhodes' son. And I think he's a great wrestler, and he could probably wrestle forever. But he's very smart. I've heard him speak. They laugh. I think Roman Reigns
his other son was a wrestler too.
Yes, Dustin, which was Goldust. The other son. So, but watching him, Roman Reigns said it, and I wonder if it has any future in it. But he said Dusty's like a politician. Cody's like a Dusty is a politician. Cody, he dresses like a politician. I said, so he kind of looks like he's very smart. I want to see how he is politically. The guy might actually have a future. I don't know if he could carry the company though. You look at him, and then you see Roman Reigns, and it's like Roman Reigns looks like he came down from heaven, down from a mountain. He looks like a Roman, like a real like Roman guy, like a emperor. That's what he looks like, and people flock to that. And he's the kind of guy you would carry the company. If you listen to the fans, they were cheering for Cody to win. And sometimes, I miss Vince McMahon. I know he used to say something. I don't care who they cheer for. I know better than them. And he ran the company, and he made it a $9 billion. It was worth $9 billion up until when he sold it. He knows what he's doing for a reason. Because these people, they're like low information guy. I want to root for the little guy, but he doesn't have enough equity in him to carry the load for a long period of time. This guy, Roman Reigns, did it for 4 years. He was the top guy on the card. Whenever he showed up, the places were like beyond packed, and it was making money. And I like to equate that to other things. This is looking at that model where I'm going to go back 30-something years ago when at 1990, when Hogan, they wanted him to pass the torch to the Ultimate Warrior, and it was a disaster. It was just a complete disaster. The guy was, he was all like, people loved the Ultimate Warrior. He had a great gimmick. He ran down in the ring, stripped the ring. And he was out of gas. And I'm like, oh, man. I was a little kid seeing this. I go, why did Hogan not the champ? This guy's no good. And then eventually they took the belt off of him. And every time they tried to go, they went back to the Warrior. It was a disaster. The guy couldn't carry the company. He's a 5-second thing. Took a 5-second clip. People go crazy. And then you see past that and go, oh, man, is this bad? Hogan had it all. He connected with the fans. He knew how to talk to people. Hogan. And Hulk Hogan, that's what made him what he is today. He was the man that carried the ball as long as he could. Then he passed it off to The Rock or whatever. And The Rock is another guy who he transcends wrestling, and he could carry it. But these other guys, Cody Rhodes, can't do it. So now I'm going to equate that back to this. You have the same. Here we go again with what we were talking about. Who could carry the ball and who could carry the load, and whether they have it or not. Low information people can't make if they make the final decision, we're in trouble, which is why we go back to Bernie Sanders. Those are the people that would tell you Cody Rhodes was better off beating Roman Reigns, finishing the story. Finishing the story has now turned into what? Roman Reigns came out for SummerSlam during the main event, and the roof came off of it. Meanwhile, the guy who's the champion is standing in the ring. So that tells you made a mistake. You gave this guy a chance, and the people are rejecting him and want the real guy back, which is Roman Reigns. See, so that's what I'm saying. Low information people were cheering for him. Meanwhile, the real wrestling fan like me told you, don't do it. It's a mistake. Don't do it. Don't do it. They did it anyway. So same thing here. We're going to go. I know it's a little long.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Trajectory, but I'm trying to make it people understand. The low information people will hurt you. These are the people, like I said, Bernie Sanders or the Democrat, they just vote no matter what. They're mindless. Yep. You have to make an informative decision.
Yep.
Or you end up with a Bernie Sanders. He's a millionaire.
That's why, I was having an argument with a friend of mine who's a Republican, and I told him this is why I'm against universal mail-in ballots, because if you're too lazy to get your ass off your chair and go vote, you don't deserve to vote. And
I think you should just vote. Early voting is another thing. Is you actually have to go to the poll and do it.
Yes. No. I
think drop off mail in. Other than
I don't like that. And I think that election day needs to be a holiday. This is bullshit that people have to take off from work or leave early. No, it should be a federal holiday where everybody's off for the most part, except essential services, and people get to vote.
If June 19th is now a holiday, why can't Election Day be a holiday?
I agree with you right there. I think that, it's only fair, then if we have one day of voting, let's say you could do the early. I think early voting should be it shouldn't be too long. I lived in Texas for a couple of years, and early voting already started for the election, and it's it's a little too early. I think let's say if you're undecided, are you really going to go vote right now anyway?
No.
What if something happens between now and the election that maybe changes your vote? Do you really want to go vote now?
Yeah. Well, I've done the early voting only to beat the election day crowds. So
Well,
it'd
no,
be a
I don't
few
have a
days
problem with like let's say for example, if we do like you do like a week or two of early voting, so like that, you can beat the crowd. You don't have to be there, or you know, I'm not one of those people. Oh no early voting. No, I don't mind the early voting. I just don't think it should be 3 months before the election. It's like 2 weeks. That sounds about right.
And I want to know how they used to be able to count all the ballots in one night, and now it takes a week, 2 weeks. This is a scam.
Oh yeah, because they need to know how many votes they need to procure
beat,
to
correct.
And
find their mail-in ballots, which is a scam. That's why mail-in ballots should be annihilated. They should just get rid of it. You know why mail-in ballots were in place was because military people overseas.
Yes.
How could they vote? A mail-in ballot.
And also
that
like
doesn't mean
handicap.
you as a citizen that runs in your house, why do you need a mail-in ballot? You can just go and vote early.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because here in Pennsylvania, what is it here? So after the court battle, the Pennsylvania judge affirmed that incomplete mail-in ballots without required secrecy envelopes will not be counted.
That's good. That's another scam they had. Look, Pennsylvania, your problem is you have like 3 counties to watch. Obviously, Philadelphia. I think the other one is Harrisburg, and there's one more county. It was 3 counties.
I'm trying to forget what Pittsburgh. It's not
Pittsburgh. Right, there you go. Pittsburgh,
but I forget what their the county of Pittsburgh is.
Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, and Philadelphia are the 3 counties where Philadelphia is the most corrupt one, but the other 2 counties are once again.
Well, Harrisburg's not that big, but Pittsburgh. It's mainly Pittsburgh and Philadelphia.
Yeah,
especially the outlying suburbs of the.
I want you to watch on election night. The votes start coming in, and then you'll see that for whatever reason, these counties always take forever because they're watching the other counties to see where they have to put. I said that 4 years ago, and I said he was ahead in Pennsylvania. I looked at Philadelphia. I go, I don't like this. And then 4 years prior, 8 years ago with Hillary Clinton, I looked at the state and I realized I was doing numbers, and I said, looking at what's left, even if every single vote, which won't be many, because I was counting the counties, that's not enough for Hillary Clinton to win the state. He's gonna win by the skin of his teeth in Philadelphia or Pennsylvania, I said. And I knew it. But Philadelphia didn't have their final total for like forever. And they were holding up the state because they were trying to figure out how to cover they didn't see that coming.
No.
And 4 years later, they thought of the ultimate scheme. Oh, mail-in ballots, this, that. And then again, they were holding off in Philadelphia. Why? Why is Philadelphia so late? They have the most people. They probably have the most people working at the polls. They probably have their population is probably more so than the other counties like Bucks County, all these other counties. So why do you not? Why can't you have a tally by the end of the night? Why does it take days? And why are you the last county to count votes? And you see the clock, and it's like, all right, well, Trump's ahead. It was 20,000. So Philadelphia only has 95% in. So now we got to cover those 20,000 the next 5. And then you start to see what's going on. You'll see it again. That's what I'm saying. You're worried about something like that happening again because they did it. They tried to do it the first time. It didn't work. They did it last time. They were successful with what I'm saying. You have to watch the screen. I like watching Pennsylvania and also Nevada. You have to watch Clark County.
Well, what you're going to see is also is the Rust Belt. Like Ohio's going to go Trump, but the question will be Michigan and Wisconsin.
Well, Michigan again, it's Detroit. What's Detroit going to do? See, that's again, it's
the question is what's going to happen. It's going to be basically the union versus the workers because the union elite, are Democrats, but the rank and file
are blue collar Republicans,
are blue collar people. Yep. So are those blue collar people going to listen to the unions or they're going to listen to their, to basically what happened before Trump left office, because the whole EV push for electric vehicles is going to kill the American auto industry.
Mm-hmm. I like to see that though, what they're gonna, because people just know. I mean, when I was terminated, I went through my whole ordeal. The union did very little to even. Once you're deemed misfit by the union, they pretty much say, okay, well, he's gonna get terminated anyway. Like that's how they talk behind the scenes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
once they deem you that, they're not going to be there to help you. Or are you the son of someone? Are you a relative of someone? Yep. Then they come and help you. I never cared much for the union. I see why you need them. At the same time, I don't see why you yourself would go to them, because they seem to, it's like an arbitrary group. It's we're only going to help a certain amount of guys.
I don't like public sector unions. I don't mind unions in general because some places need them. But the problem with, like, let's say like with the police, the teachers, the firefighters, sanitation, all these,
arbitrary. They only help out their friends.
Well, then it's not only that, but it's taxpayer money. You're paying salaries with taxpayer money. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're negotiating against a private company. You're negotiating against our tax dollars. So it's like, yeah, you could agree to give the fire department a 20% raise, but whose taxes are you raising to do that?
Yeah, they don't. Those unions never cared as long as they make money, because that's all they care about.
Because they don't care either, because they're getting the money from their from the union members. Mm-hmm. They're getting their dues, so they don't give a shit.
That's the problem. That's a lot of these big cities.
That's the reason why, like, people be like, oh, why are you so anti-union? I'm not anti-union. Like where my wife works, they're in a desperate need of a union, because that job gets away with a bunch of bullshit that they do. Like stuff that they shouldn't be able to get away with. But because there's no union, there's no one to complain to.
I know. And they won't help you.
No. Nope, not at all. But well, I think that's a good place to leave it, because we're going on an hour.
I am getting one last thing here. I see that Fat Joe got the key to the city. So someone just sent me that. Eric Adams. Remember, the last person Eric Adams gave the key to the city to was Puff Daddy. How'd that go? How'd that work out? Fat Joe. Look at this article. Yeah. New subpoenas. This is a major problem for him. Okay. Like I said, when they stopped this guy in the middle of the street not too long ago, the feds came and said, give me your phones, give me all this stuff. And they already had all his information. Then they raided two people that were very close to him. They're prolific fundraisers for him. So then they also found out through a lawsuit that was a civil suit by a firefighter who was suing the FDNY. They found out that they were speeding up inspections and Department of Buildings like paperwork for the Turkish embassy. In the Turkish embassy, there was a go-between, a businessman who was part of the Turkish government. And apparently Eric is not only friends with that guy, he went to Turkey. He knows Erdogan. He knows his son. He went back to Turkey. He was flying on a plane. The Turkish government paid for it. That's a nightmare. But there's more. His aide, Timothy Pearson, was there. Timothy Pearson was in 4 federal sexual harassment lawsuits. And he clearly is an aide that also has a say in the NYPD. This guy is a mess. He also has a sexual assault lawsuit, Eric Adams, on a woman. He says, I don't know her. Meanwhile, she worked with him. She was a police assistant when he was a sergeant in Coney Island in the transit district. And then later on, he was in Brooklyn. In Manhattan. He was with her in a Central Records division. And they were part of the Transit Guardians, not the NYPD Guardians. They know each other. And he keeps saying he doesn't know her. She has a whole story of what he did. He wanted her to do something. Apparently, he ejaculated all over her in a car. I mean, this is crazy. This guy, and then
I heard
underneath
the story.
him, but the story here is that Eric Adams, aides and friends in the police department, Jeffrey Madry, the chief of the department, who has a sexual assault and harassment history, but he's still there. And you hear these things about Eddie Caban as a police commissioner. He's covering up this stuff. You have John Schell, the chief of patrol, Kaz Dawdry, who's Jeffrey Madry's goons. They're there. They were also protecting Jeffrey Madry. So you have a history of this stuff with Eric Adams. And it's funny because he's being sued. And it's like, well, he can't fire these people because apparently he just loves doing it either himself or he's all for it. Let's see the process go through. But you know something? Kamala Harris, like I've been saying, Eric Adams is there tonight. He's lobbying for his party. He's desperate to get pardoned. He's all over the place looking for his pardon. Kamala Harris should rescind her endorsement from Eric Adams. She should condemn him because he smeared a woman that clearly there's something there because she knows him. He says, I don't know her. So then I thought he believed all women. And then finally, you know, she should also come out and say, if I became president, no matter what happens, if he's either charged or indicted, I will not pardon Eric Adams. I will see the process go through because I do not want to interfere with the Department of Justice investigation. If she doesn't do that, she's just as fugazi as the rest of them.
Yeah, no, that, you know, I saw, I read the details about what this lady was saying, and it's you know, it's like, you know, she, what was it? He asked for oral. That's what it was.
Yep. It's some sick
like,
stuff. It's like, come
I'm
on,
like, you know, as a man who's a father, you know, a brother, a husband, you know, that's fucking disgusting. I'd want to, you know, beat the shit out of someone who tried to do that to any of my female relatives.
Here's the worst part is, don't worry, the New York City taxpayers illegally paying for his defense. We never got a letter from the city under GML 50K2. They have to tell you why they're representing him for something like this, because I didn't know that sexual assault now falls under the scope of duties of a police officer or a New York City employee. That's technically official misconduct for anyone to be representing him without telling the public why. We don't want to know what his defense is. We don't know the reasons of why are you paying? Why are the taxpayers paying for his legal defense when this is clearly something that happened outside the scope of his duties? It's all corrupt. Carlos, New York City in a nutshell is what the country's going through. It's a microcosm. And unfortunately, as New York City goes, so does the country. It's still the financial mecca of the United States. So you got to pray for the best there. You can't be having this. The taxpayers, New York City, please, if you're listening and you're watching, wake up, start becoming informed. Don't be a low information voter like the people that Eric Adams loves to, prey on. You know, God ordained him to be the mayor. Please don't be bamboozled by that anymore, please.
Mm-hmm. Well, they say, what is it? The Bible says about God ordaining, you know, our leaders and all that stuff. But sometimes it's because you need a leader that's going to make the country or, you know, whatever, hit rock bottom. So like that, you can realize you need to go, you know, you need to improve your situation by getting new leaders. And hopefully, New York City's rock bottom right now, and we'll get new leaders. So. Was it next year's the election, right?
Yeah, next year's election.
Well,
we'll see.
We'll see.
I'm only trying to expose. I'm exposing this Anthony Miranda, this other clown that's underneath there. Again, it's one by one. You got to show the people what's going on. Otherwise, they'll be stuck with another term of Eric Adams, who may or may not be indicted in prison. Who knows? New York City is full of low information voters, but they all vote on their hatred. So Trump is a bad guy. They won't vote for him, but they'll vote on, hey, vote for me. I'm the swagger man with no plan. And all my haters become my waiters at the table of success. That's what they want. They love a guy that says that kind of stuff and sexually assaults women, apparently, allegedly, and as a abuse of their police badge. He did it as a sergeant. He took advantage of this woman. So, but hey,
keep it out there. Keep up the work, because, you know, if like we said, the mainstream media is not going to cover this. Exactly. Or at least there'll be a puff piece article like the one I just pulled up, where where more of the details that they're not putting into there.
Yep, that's true. It's true.
So, that being said, let people know again where they could find you.
Sure. So
So like that they could.
I'm here on X at the Sal Greco. Same on Instagram. Also on Truth Social, I'm at head of the table, and on YouTube, on Rumble, at the Sal Greco Show. I like to put up new episodes all the time. I talk about various things: law, politics, food, wrestling, as you just
All
heard.
right, we didn't. I got to get you back on because I'm even though I don't look it right now because I hurt my back, but I'm physical. I'm a weightlifting enthusiast.
Oh,
So
that's
I know you.
great.
I saw that
That's great.
uh you like to work out too. So
Yep. Oh yeah, I'm a big workout guy. I go to gym at least 5 or 6 times a week. I've been doing that my whole life. Got to get back into doing more cardio, but of course you need the time. But if I'm out here, basically working, to save the, I'll say, I don't know, the city or the country, and informing them of just how corrupt people are, and need to be more, informed on what's going on, then maybe I could run for 2 hours a day like I used to when I was a cop. But when I was a cop, I remember I was set days. Certain days I'd make arrests. So, other days you kind of took it easier. So it was easy for me to work out 3 hours in a day when, I went into work and really knew that it was more scaled back because I was really going to work my way to Thursday night, Friday night, making that arrest of a DWI or something. So, I mean,
yeah.
I was later on in my career. Earlier on, it was a lot of work. I was working out 3 hours a day. I was working all day and night. I barely got any sleep. In the later years, I worked in a DWI unit, so you could kind of pick your spots of when you knew you were going to make an arrest on Thursday. And it was crazy.
Yeah.
And so the other days, yeah, you could spend 2 hours running because you went to work going, all right, I'm not going to really, it's going to be a little easier tonight because, my partner's going to make that arrest, not me. So
Also, you have the lighter days. Thursday,
yeah.
Friday, Saturday are the heavier
No, rock and
drinking
roll.
days.
Yeah, those were the days. But then you know what? I flipped it because as much as I'm talking now, I remember that it was a week I had a DWI every single night. I went the whole week still training 3 hours a day and every night, barely getting any sleep because I was arresting a guy. I got to the point where I made so much overtime and so many arrests that there's a 3-month period. We call it a quarter. You're only allowed to make a certain amount of overtime due to all the stuff you get. You have to go to court. And I did it in like less than 4 weeks. So the next 2 months, I was ordered to don't make any arrests, don't do it. So they were like, all right, everyone else says, all right. So my partner did it instead. But those were the time I remember. Those were good times. It was times that the city was a lot safer because you knew when I was out there, you never knew. You never know what could have happened. You never know.
All right. Well, don't sign off just yet, but I'm gonna end the live stream. So
Sure.
everybody, like I said, you can find Sal, and you also have your website too, right? Don't you have that? It's
Yeah,
Sal
salgreco.com. I do have to revitalize it at a certain point, but it's very, very hard to do it when you're a one-man show. So
I'm there with you because I
Yeah.
have my Right Rican website. I don't have much on it. You have yours is a little bit better than mine because you at least have some like articles and stuff. I don't even. have that.
yeah.
I just have it connected to my social media.
The bare
So,
minimum. It's a bare minimum for me right now.
But so you can find him he said Twitter, mainly Twitter, YouTube, Rumble is where he does his channel. Do you do it live stream on X too or no?
I haven't tried that yet. That might be down the road. I'm trying to still figure out how to even live stream the right way because I've had the issue of when you live stream and I want to show people videos and stuff, and I can't figure that part out.
We'll talk offline. Maybe whatever you're using. All right. Well, with that being said, everyone, hope you guys enjoyed the show and have a good week, everyone.
God bless.